Yo, how's it going, everybody? It's MacklinGaming, and yeah, I finally got a haircut. I only get like 2 or 3 haircuts a year. I just let it grow for like 6 months until I gotta get it a little bit cleaner. You know, we're approaching Thanksgiving, so I had to trim it down. But I was starting to look like a caveman because I was just playing this one game for hours and hours the last month. I put about 100 hours into this game, and I'm almost at the end, and it's time to talk once again about Metaphor Refantazio. I'm gonna do my review right here. I made a video about first impressions, and I really liked what I played in like the 5-hour demo, but now I'm 100 hours in, almost at the end, and this game has really blown my mind, and it really surprised me this year that I would be playing this game and even giving it my favorite game of the year. So what do we have here in the physical edition of Metaphor Refantazio? We've got the disc and the pre-order bonus pamphlet. It's got the code on the back to unlock some pre-order goodies, but I'm not going to show you that because then you could steal it from me. But on the back it says, "Awaken. The throne sits empty after the king's assassination. With no heirs, the will of the late king decrees that the next monarch will be elected by the people," and so on. But even there, they're trying to show the democracy involved in this game, which is set in like medieval fantasy time. So this game's storyline and narrative is like very complex, but also really deep and thoughtful and thought-provoking and emotional at times. So you have this main character, and his mission is to, you know, save the prince and figure out who's going to be the next king and try and prevent this evil guy from taking the throne just by tyranny and power, right? And along the way, he meets all these friends and allies of his. There's got to be about like 10 or 15 allies where each one of them has their own unique storyline in the game, and you can follow that storyline and interact with each of the characters, and it takes you through their, you know, very like thought-provoking side quests, and each one picks on like different themes about human nature to discuss and to think about. Like, you know, one of the characters, for example, I'm not going to tell you which one and try not to spoil too much, but like his son dies, and you know, he was just distraught, and he goes and lives in solitude in this cave by himself, and all of a sudden rumors start swirling. Like the townsfolk think he's kidnapping children and doing bad things to them, like killing them, and you have to go confront him. And then as you go on, I won't spoil what happens next, but you know, his storyline is just really deep. It's sad, but then, you know, you learn some lessons about how he deals with the pain and the loss that he went through. And there's just so many different characters that have different storylines like that, to where you get through each of the characters and you forge bonds with them as you learn about their storylines, and each one is really captivating. It's like, I want to do all of them, but sometimes, you know, you run out of days to do everything. This game has like a day-night cycle where everything you do, you know, moves time forward. Let's say you want to forge a bond with one of the side characters, that's going to take up a day, or you want to go to a dungeon and fight a boss, that's going to take up a day as well. So this game has like a countdown day-night cycle, and that would be the only thing that gives me like anxiety about the game. The one negative for me is the day-night cycle, where it's like, did I spend that day optimally? Did I do everything I wanted to do to get stronger in that day, or did I waste a day? So that's the one thing that was like, I'm not sure. But you know, by the end, as long as you're going through the side characters and forging bonds with them and doing their side quests, you know, you're gonna get stronger. And make sure you do all the other side quests where you have to like take out a boss in a dungeon and stuff. Those make you stronger in different ways. Those level up your character. So there's just a lot going on in the game. There's the Archetype system, which I really want to get deep into because it's like the deepest perk tree system or class system I've ever seen. Like, you start out with these archetypes, and then all of a sudden, if you forge your bonds deeper with each character, new archetypes in the same lineage will open up, and they're even stronger. But sometimes the prerequisites for unlocking these newer, deeper archetypes is like really daunting. It's like you have to have level 20 in the first archetype, but then you have to be level 15 in a totally different archetype, which means you have to have that character study different archetypes and get stronger in a bunch of different ones in order to unlock like the deepest and most powerful archetype. So that was, to me, was like mind-blowing. I was like, oh, I'm never going to be able to get to the end of these trees. But if you just keep going, and you know, there's like a few items in the game that help you out, and they help you level up your archetypes better, and you use those, you can eventually achieve these very elite archetypes, they call them. So I think the archetype system is so dope. I love it. I'm like a Dark Knight with Oakenberg, and an Elemental Master with the main character who does insane magic damage. I just pumped his magic stat super high, and he does like 1,200, like over 1,000 damage per enemy if it's like they're weak or, you know, not resistant to the element type. So I'm just like burning people. It's crazy. Another really interesting thing about the game is like when you fight really difficult monsters, they're called humans. So I thought that was really interesting. Like all the people in the game are not called humans. They're called, you know, different races. So you've got like Elda, which is the main characters in Elda. You have Nydia, you know, like Juna's and Nydia. And there's like a bunch of different ones. There's Ujifs, which look like little like bat mouse people. So there are all these different races, but the monsters, the most like evil enemies in the game are called humans. And that's like very interesting. They make you think, you know, why do they call them that? Like humans are so flawed in real life. They can be greedy and selfish and dangerous and violent. But it's just a very interesting take. Like, oh, we're gonna call like the worst enemies in this game humans, the worst monsters. So that was a pretty cool idea. The game takes you through all these deep like components of human nature throughout the story. Like anxiety is really a big factor in this game. You can actually have anxiety in battle. If an enemy like blocks your attack, you'll get anxiety. If you get ambushed by an enemy, maybe one of your characters will get anxiety as well, and then they can't activate their synthesis attacks, like their strongest abilities. They become like really weak, and they're just like kind of like cowering there, scared, and your other characters have to like help them and carry them because you can't switch them out either when they have a status ailment like anxiety. So it's a really cool game mechanic, and it's also tying into the storyline a lot. So I really like how they make you think about different ideas of human nature. You know, there's a lot of like loss and revenge tales in this game, and a lot of cool stuff like that. So the combat itself is really quite challenging, like from a strategic mental aspect. You know, it's like not Elden Ring difficult at all. It's way different. It's turn-based, but it's so smooth and fluid the way you play this turn-based combat. It can move pretty quickly, but you still get time to like pick your attacks. There's no like skipping turns. The enemy's not just gonna attack you out of nowhere until you finish your turns, and then it switches to them. But still, you can move quickly through the combat if you want. It's not like a really slow, tedious turn-based system, but it feels like I'm playing 4D chess sometimes. It's like this enemy's weak to this certain thing, you know, like fire or pierce attacks. So I'm gonna, you know, skip this turn and wait for my next character that has a spear that does pierce damage to do the attack, or I'm gonna lower the defense. Like if you use the trickster or the faker archetype, that lineage of archetypes is like broken in this game. You can just debuff the enemy into oblivion until they're just like completely weak and pathetic. So you can really bring down their attack, their defense, and then their hit rate. So they can like miss attacks on you, and that'll just change the turn over to you essentially. Like that takes up a lot of their turn icons to where they're out if they miss their attack on you. So it's really an awesome archetype. I had Juna pretty much max out the trickster archetype, and she's just debuffing enemies and making them miss and lowering their defense. And then my elemental master is just like burning them for like 1,200 damage. So it's really satisfying towards the end once you understand the combat and can like grasp the weaknesses and the strengths and the resistances of your enemies, and learn how each character can take advantage of that in battle. So I'm real close to the end of the game, and I just don't want it to end. This has been one of those games where I'll play it for a few hours and then I'm like, I've made too much progress. Like I want to put this down and come back to it tomorrow. I'm like savoring it, and that's how I know it's one of my favorite games of the year. And like all year I was like, oh yeah, Final Fantasy Rebirth, that's the best game I played. But now I think Metaphor, you know, it's like a new original idea. It's a new original IP for me to play. And like, I know if you guys are Persona fans out there, you're like, dude, there's already been games like this. You know, this is just similar to Persona, just a little bit better maybe. But I haven't played Persona yet, you know, but this Metaphor has turned me into an Atlas fan, and I have some friends who really enjoy Persona games, so I'm probably gonna jump into one of those maybe next month or next year, early next year. If there aren't many releases coming out in January, I might try either Persona 3 Reload or Persona 5 Royal. So let me know in the comments which one of those you think I should try as my first Persona game, because I'm like the newest and biggest Atlas fan after playing Metaphor Refantazio. Let me know if you guys have played Metaphor and what you think about it. I'm gonna stop gushing about this game. Hope you guys have a great holiday if you're in the US. If not, enjoy yourself, play this game. It is gonna blow your mind. It's a beautiful game. So leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Hit that subscribe button to get rid of your anxiety. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.